Good morning, YouTube!
Hello, Lifers! This is Jason Love with Jason Loves Life. Alright, so we got a great question about Frumpkin's his daily schedule for during the school year. And so school year just ended, so this is I'm gonna do another one of these for summer. But so this is a 12-hour day. And so Frumpkin gets up usually around 7. Now the problem is he sometimes get up, like yesterday this morning he got up at 5 a.m. And then he gets really exhausted. If he gets up at 5 a.m., I usually take care of that because I just wake up easier on that, and he can usually get to me easier. So I usually try to give him a game or something like that to keep him busy. But ideally he'd wake up at 7, maybe a little early, and he gets breakfast and changed, so clothes, teeth brushed, the normal morning routine, and then he would get on the bus at 7:30. He got on the bus at 7:30. So from there, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is the day he has school, right? So on 7:30 bus, that's only on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. If it's not Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, then he goes in the car. So bus or car. All right. Then from basically 8 o'clock on, I'm not sure what time his school got out, but he'd get home at 12:30. So I'm going to assume around 12. Probably like 11:45 or something. So school. Again, if it was Thursday or Friday, he doesn't have school. So what we had been doing, and this was changed up towards the end, is Frumpkin would go to the YMCA daycare. The YMCA daycare. And Leah would work out. They have a policy where they can stay up to 3 hours. So he would get home. They would basically get home around 11. So on those days, he'd get home around 11. And then the therapists come. So, okay. School day, he would get off. He'd get home about here, 12:30. So around 1 o'clock usually, the people from ABA therapy would come. So he'd have about a half an hour when he got home, or if it was a YMCA daycare, so Thursday or Friday, he would have, whatever this is, a couple hours. So he'd have like 2 hours. The ABA actually goes to the Y. So let me add that. So they would help him with socializing, sharing, things like that. Basically an extra hand to help him there. But a lot of times my understanding, I see what he does in daycare, but I haven't really seen a lot what the ABA people do because, I don't usually go with to the Y. Leah goes, and then just talking to the therapist that does, or the technician that goes there, she said usually she tries to stay hands off and basically sort of help curb any behaviors, maybe try to initiate play, things like that. But for the most part, a lot more hands off than she is at the house. Right, so then he might have ABA somewhere in here after the Y. Sometimes someone else will come up. So then he'd have ABA from 1 till usually 5 was a common one, and kind of on both ends. And so that's basically like 4 hours or 5 hours. But you have to remember, we talked about this before, but I'm gonna talk about it again. So ABA, when they get here, it's probably about 10 minutes to a half an hour of them just prepping. So even though it's 4 hours, it's already half the time cut out. And then there's a half an hour at the end, maybe sometimes shorter, but usually sort of estimate about a half an hour at the end. So now you're looking at 3 hours, and then there's breaks, constant breaks. And I would say, you're probably taking another hour. So really out of 4 hours, he's probably really doing it 2 hours. That's a little bit of a guess. And that is including playtime, which is, some could say, well, that's not really, basically a therapist is just playing with them to kind of keep Frumpkin from losing interest or, just to overwhelm him. Actually, the actual therapy itself, ABA therapy, is just it's just kind of like schoolwork. you know. So like right now they're having them where they build, they'll take like 10 blocks and they have a picture, and then they'll make a shape. They'll match the picture, so it's like maybe a house. So they build a house with the block. Actually, a bed is a good example. So they did a bed, so it's just like 2 that go down and 1 across, and they say it's a bed, and then they say Frumpkin, okay, now you make a bed, and so he would make a bed, and then now they like he did that really well, so they give him challenges. So they'll say, okay, you have a time limit, or I saw one this was impressive, is she just said make a bed and didn't show him the picture or make it, and just from memory he could make the bed. So I think it was just a question of like, part of it is seeing what his skill level is, and then get him to work a little bit further. And then also he gets rewarded if he does it properly. They just recently switched it where, because they have to switch constantly between playtime and table time, and those transitions are hard for Frumpkin. And it's funny because when he started playing, he hated leaving table time, and now I think he's more, you know, they were like, oh, that's unusual. Now it's more like, oh, table time is fine. You know, he'd rather have playtime or break. Part of it is he plays his video games during break, and I want to cut that out as much as I can without driving me and Leah crazy. Just because that makes it harder to make that transition, because you know, it's like constantly taking his video game away all day, you know, is kind of a hard thing, you know, 3 or 4 times a day. So that was a little bit off track. Again, so ABA till like 5. And then, the rest of the night, and he goes to bed around 7. You know, a little bit later, but we basically start getting ready. Here, let's do another color. So we prep for bed, you know, somewhere within this time frame. And there's also like dinner. And dinner's probably in here. And then, you know, kind of in here is when he has lunch. So between 12:30 and 1, or here usually between the shifts, and then of course breakfast up there. So that's Frumpkin's day. To kind of give you a day, I know there's also a question on the weekends. It's you know, very just basically hang out, lunch, hang out, you know, kind of a similar structure, only in with us, Leah works sort of a second shift. She works 15 hours a week, but she doesn't get home till after 11 p.m. So she often doesn't get to bed till probably 12:30. You know, get home, she's got to unpack, you know, maybe grab a little bit extra to eat, whatever. So she goes to bed at 12:30. So a lot of times, or you know, she might get into bed 12:30, might not fall asleep till 1. So you say, okay, 1 to 7, that's 6 hours of sleep. And so then what we do is she picks up a nap between 1 in this area, and it's not always like perfect. I always try to wake up at 4. She gets up at 4, but because then what happens is I take a nap basically for 3 hours, and I follow a similar schedule where I end up, you know, I'll probably go to bed a little bit earlier than her, but I also tend to get up early because if Frumpkin gets up, or because I deal with the stuff at night, a lot of times I'm not getting, you know, even if I go to bed at, say, 11 and fall asleep at 11, so we got 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so that should be 8 hours, but I'll probably be up, if he gets up at, you know, 5, last night I went to bed at 1, so kind of a little bit of flexibility more on my part, but I know Leah sometimes has a hard time falling asleep at night, so sometimes it's not, probably getting under 8 hours of sleep, or somewhere between, you know, the recommended amount. And then, so yeah, so this is the why. So 2, she might watch the kids, so kind of Leah's in charge of the kids kind of from here to about here. But I would say at least once a week I'm watching them during that time. This week it's been a couple times, because just appointments or something going on, or just because if I'm working in the basement, it's hard not to ignore them if I hear them playing or something happens. And then I watch them from 1 to 4. Then Leah's in charge of them from 1 to here. Now, usually she's in charge of getting him dressed, in charge being like, she's the default, where a lot of times I end up, especially if he gets up early, I'll feed him breakfast because he's up and he's hungry. I'll change him, do his diapers, stuff like that. So that happens. But Leo usually takes care of that. So at like 7, around lunchtime, they usually need to change. Pumpkin, we've been trying to get Pumpkin to nap, so usually I put Pumpkin we put her in bed, but a lot of times she won't nap, or we give her a game if she doesn't seem sleepy. So, which probably is not the best thing to do. We would probably cut that out, but just sort of a habit at this point. So that's usually like 1 hour here, and then I watch the kids. Like right now they're all asleep because they woke up so early. But usually, like 2 nights ago, Frumpkin was up till like 9:30, and kept asking for me. So ideally, this should be a great quiet work time, but usually isn't this evening. But it is what it is, and that's the breakdown of now. Things are going to change for the summer. This was school year, so find that interesting, possibly even helpful. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Thank you again. Love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.